Example 2. Identifying a parametric curve. What curve is represented by the following parametric equations? We have x, which is equal to the cosine of t. Y is equal to the sine of t, where t is in between 0 and 2 pi. So if we look here, we list everything from 0 to 2 pi. Now, we should know that the cosine of 0 is going to give us what? It's going to give us 1, where the sine of 0 is going to give us 1. And again, we can use our calculator if we want to, just to verify that. So the cosine of 0 is equal to 1, and the sine of 0 is equal to 0. So we know that this is going to give us 1. And then 0. So we know that our ordered pair is 1, 0. For pi over 4, let's go ahead and put pi over 4. So if we want to find the cosine of pi over 4, we know it's going to be 0.71. And what is the sine of pi over 4? Well, that's going to give us also 0.71. Okay, what is the cosine of pi over 2, which is the cosine of 90? Well, we should know that that is 0. And the sine of pi over 2 is 1. Okay, what about 3 pi over 4? What is the cosine of 3 pi over 4? Well, the cosine of 3 pi over 4 gives us what? Negative 0.71. And so what do we know about the sine of 3 pi over 4? We also know that's going to be positive 0.71. What is the cosine of pi? Well, the cosine of pi is negative 1. The sine of pi is 0. Okay, what about 3 pi over 2? So where is 3 pi over 2 located on our graph? Well, we know that 3 pi over 2 is here. So the cosine of 3 pi over 2 is 0. And the sine of 3 pi over 2 is going to be negative 1. Well, where is 2 pi located on the graph? Well, 2 pi is located over here on the x-axis. And what is the cosine of 2 pi? Well, that is 1. And the sine of 2 pi is 0. Okay, so now we're going to rewrite our ordered pairs. So we have 1, 0, 0.71, 0.71. We have 0 and then 1, negative 0.71, 0.71, negative 1, 0, 0, negative 1, and then 1, 0. So we know over here on our x-axis that this represents 0 and 2 pi. At our y, this is pi over 2, which represents 90 degrees. And then over here, this represents 3 pi, excuse me, not 3 pi, but pi. And then down here is 3 pi over 2. So if this represents 1, this represents negative 1, this is positive 1, and this is negative 1. So we know that we have an ordered pair here at 1, 0. We have another ordered pair here at 0, 1, which is at pi over 2. So we know that at pi, we know it's negative 1, 0. And then at 3 pi over 2, we have 0, negative 1. And then at 2 pi, we're back at 1, 0. So let's go ahead and trace this. So starting here at the center, you should see that we end up with a circle. So here is our circle. And so at the value of t equals 0, so when t is equal to 0, and that is at the point of 1, 0. This point right here at 0, 1 is when t is equal to pi over 2. At this point here, we know that t is equal to pi, because that is negative 1, 0. And this point here, we know that that is t, which is equal to 3 pi over 2. And then coming back here, we know that t is equal to 2 pi. So this 1, 0 represents our initial point. This is our ending point. So now what we can do is we can now draw arrows of our direction. So we're starting at t is equal to 0, and then we're moving to pi over 2, so that means we have an arrow in this direction. And then we're going from pi over 2 to pi, so the arrow is going in that direction. And then from pi to 3 pi over 2, we know that we're going in this direction. And from 3 pi over 2 to 2 pi, there is the direction of our circle. So you can see that we end up having a circle here. Now we can confirm that this is a circle by using these equations and eliminating the parameter. So if we know that x is equal to the cosine of t and y is equal to the sine of t, recall, again here, so we're confirming this by eliminating the parameter t. So recall that what is the trig identity? We have cosine squared t plus the sine squared t, and that's equal to 1. And so from our above, we know that x is equal to the cosine of t, and we know that y is equal to the sine of t. Now we can then square both sides to get x squared, which is equal to the cosine squared t. And that means that y squared is equal to the sine squared t. So now we can replace cosine squared t with x squared, plus replace sine squared with y squared, and that's equal to 1. So again, that represents our circle with radius 1. So now let's summarize this. So in order to summarize what we just did, okay, we can see that there is a point, okay, x1, that moves along this unit circle, x squared plus y squared equals 1. Notice that the parameter t can be interpreted as the angle in radians, and as t increases, going from 0 to 2 pi, the point xy is equal to cosine of t sine t, moves once around the circle in a counterclockwise direction, starting at the point 1, 0.